Hello and welcome back to the port. I'm the Guy from Asia and this is Wales Weekly. Wales Weekly is the weekly news video regarding World of Warships Legends and covers news regarding the game the week past, week coming up. It's also a place where I do some speculations and other things like that. So I guess we'll start off with the first item of news was the Community Manager's live stream, which was on last Friday, the 16th. And a little bit of a wrap up of what was mentioned in them. So first of all, I guess the big news item is that German carriers will be potentially coming in summer 2021. Obviously, all subject to COVID and things like that. Now, these were chosen over Royal Navy carriers as German carriers are, first of all, closer to being completed in regards to implementation, I guess you could say. And also, they have a concept regarding the German carriers. I have some speculations about that. Whereas with the Royal Navy carriers, they don't quite have a concept for them as yet. Basically, how to make them different to the other nations. Otherwise, it's just going to be copy and paste. Now, I guess you could say, oh, right, well, so we're going to be getting a load of Germany fantasy carriers because obviously Germany didn't actually ever complete any carriers, and the carriers they did complete were pretty poorly designed, in all honesty. However, what this does mean is potentially you could maybe expect a little bit of power creep when it comes to the Royal Navy carriers. So I can't complain. If it means the Royal Navy carriers might be a little bit better, then hey, I'm up for that. Obviously, with the introduction of carriers, will there be premium carriers? Of course there'll be premium carriers. We'll cover off some more of that when it comes to the carrier Q&A. Another question was regarding Bureau projects. I guess it's quite obvious when you look at the Bureau with 2 projects marked as coming soon. It can be anticipated that there will be some Bureau projects coming soon. I would like to hazard a guess and say probably cruisers, considering we don't have any cruisers. And no, I'm not going to count the Alaska as a cruiser. So, other items of news, I guess you could also say that there are some planned changes to carriers. In fact, they actually have been implemented, and we'll cover those off in when we cover that mini patch we've recently had. It's also been mentioned that we can probably expect some more permanent camouflages available for paint in the potential next update. So that sounds quite interesting. Fingers crossed, some permanent camouflages for British cruisers, I guess you could say. Now, over the summer, there will be some form of community competition in which it appears that maybe you guys will be either helping make videos or partaking in videos and things like that. Obviously, more information forthcoming, but it's interesting to see that they are trying to get some more involvement with the community. That's you guys. Other item, I guess, clans is plans to be introduced as a social feature this year, which is quite interesting. However, once clans are populated, then we could potentially expect clans battles in 2022. However, when we look at crossplay, they haven't really got any news on crossplay divisions at the moment, and it looks like from a development point of view, they're going to have to look outside their existing development team and look towards a third-party development team. So that's obviously potentially going to slow things down. So obviously, I guess we just have to wait for more news on that in the future. Now, when it comes to rocket attack aircraft, as confirmed by the carrier Q&A, they're not looking to introduce rocket attack aircraft at any point soon, or potentially at all, which I guess is some form of good news for you DD players out there. Now, in a few months, there should be a sound update to the game, which means guns should start to sound a bit more in tune with their caliber and things like that, rather than it just being the same noise for all sorts of different calibers of guns. There's also mentions that potentially there will be more ribbons forthcoming, and I have a bit more news on that following Discord. And also, it looks like we can expect some relevant content regarding the Bismarck Operation Rheinberg or something like that. So I guess, if I was going to hazard a guess, I'd say, well, what would I like? Personally, I would like to see some patches, some patch symbols, some flags, some permanent camouflages for the Bismarck, the Prince Eugen, or maybe the Hipper if they want to try and pass it off. But hopefully the Prince Eugen, the Devonshire, and the Hood, which will be quite interesting. Maybe do another permanent camouflage for the KG5 as well, as a stand-in for the Prince of Wales. All some very potential things, I think, but it looks like they are definitely making some moves towards that based on confirmation from Takana. Going on to the more definitive news, I guess you could say, obviously back to that small patch that we have, that we saw implemented at the start of this week, and it was under 500 megabytes. Basically, this is a little bit of fine tuning in regards to the XP and credits earned by aircraft carriers, along with improvements to the game performance, especially when using the ship carousel in the port menu. The extent of the changes to the carriers is they've improved the credit earning for all tiers. They've improved the XP earning of the tier 7. The tier 5 XP earnings have stayed about the same. The tier 3 XP earnings have been dialed back a little bit. However, all the changes are under the margin of 10%. Obviously, this week we have seen the release of 2 new items, I guess you say. First of all, we have Arena. It's back, Season 2. It's running from April the 19th until April the 26th. As you probably already know, it is Tier 3 destroyers and cruisers. It's three ships per team, 4 teams. Top Basically, you know what the rewards are going to be like. There's a participation. The leaderboard is based on the number of ships killed. Now I know that's been quite controversial, and to be honest, even I'm giving it a pass. I might just take my boat out maybe once, get my participation stuff, get my 5 doubloons or 5 promotion orders, and walk away from that. Is going to be my honest approach to that one. However, this is not going to be the same for Season 3, which is coming on May the 3rd to May the 10th. This will allow you to play Tier 3 ships of any type, so you can play destroyers, cruisers, and battleships. It does say any type in the notes, which I have linked down below. Amusingly, it doesn't confirm whether or not carriers. I think maybe we should clarify that one. The leaderboard will be based on the amount of XP accrued, with modifiers applied. So obviously, if you take out a premium ship, you're going to earn more for that. If you take out a ship with an XP booster on, that additional XP is going to help. Obviously, this is where taking the central cap is actually going to be worthwhile, because obviously the central cap is going to help you win the game and therefore allow you to get more XP, whereas having the cap in this current season seems a bit pointless. And the usual map rotation and things like that, and there should be more information regarding Season 3 forthcoming, I suspect, unless the rewards are going to be exactly the same. No, I don't think they will. The other item in news is obviously the Russian Tier 4 battleship. I'm just going to translate it, October Revolution. Now, I did intend to have a review of this ship out on Wednesday. However, I didn't feel quite right on the Tuesday night when I would have been recording it, so instead I moved Friday's video forward onto Wednesday. So my intention is to try and have that reviewed for Friday. Fingers crossed. She is available obviously for 6,250 balloons on her own. There's a bundle where you can get a flag and a couple of different consumables and things like that. That bundle is only available this week until April the 26th, and that is 12,400 doubloons. You kind of already know my points of views in regards to these bundles. If you want the ship, just get the ship. The only point really of getting the bundle sometimes is if you want the memorable flag, which I can understand is a cosmetic at the end of the day. Some people might like it, but I kind of feel that usually with those bundles, unless you want all of it, it's not really worthwhile. But hey, you've got to make your own decisions, so I'll leave that to you. Amusingly, we've seen the Godzilla vs. Kong trailer re-released, or re-teased, I guess you could say. The reason why I think they've done this is they want to reaffirm that this is actually going to be content come to the game, and that it's not just an April Fool's, because obviously they released it on April Fool's, and you can kind of see it on their Discord and on the Community Manager livestream, where they're constantly having to reaffirm, yes, it is actually coming, guys. It wasn't just an April Fool's. And you can kind of understand that when you look at how much detail they put into the trailer. It's not an April Fool's. They really did put some effort into it. Now, as I partially alluded to, there was a carrier Q&A that will also be linked down in the description. However, I'll have a look over it and see what kind of summaries we got. Obviously, the questions: why are you introducing carriers? Well, we kind of know why. What nations are going to have carriers? Obviously, they're saying America and Japan right now, based on the airstriker vote. mode. Will there be more nations supported in time? Now it says we expect at least one nation before the end of 2021. So potentially we could still see. So obviously we are expecting German carriers. Potentially we could maybe expect Royal Navy carriers this year, but I think that might be pushing it, so they might be coming in 2022. Obviously, like they say, it's all down to factors regarding slowdown development like we had in 2020, e.g. COVID. Now, there is a comment regarding what is the goal of carriers, how do I unlock carriers, will there be premium carriers? Obviously there will be premium carriers, but here's a nice interesting one. Most likely first premium carriers will be available for doubloons, therefore I think you can kind of say we can expect premium carriers to be available for doubloons before we start seeing them as campaign rewards. So that's that kind of puts that a bit into context. So obviously that kind of means that the next campaign won't be a carrier campaign, because obviously they're going to want to probably release them via doubloons first, I guess you say. It makes sense. I mean, if you're going to be introducing a new shiny class and then you're going to be introducing a new shiny premium ship for that class, you probably want people to put money down first rather than getting it for a campaign. You've got to look at it from a marketing point of view, I guess you could say. You might not completely agree with it, but at the end of the day, they have to make some money in some way because it is a free-to-play game, and they have to pay their development team and their community managers and all this other stuff in the background to keep the servers going. So you have to kind of look at it that way. Is there a limitation on how many carriers? Yeah, limited to one battle. Which tiers did you pick carriers for and why? Obviously 3, 5 and 7. What type of planes? Now this is interesting regarding what type of planes. For bombers, we're staying with high explosive armament, but AP bombs are a possibility in the future. German carriers. I am suspecting that German carriers will probably offer you torpedo bombers and AP bombers, and it'll probably be your typical fast and low HP pool, but probably maybe slightly larger flights. That's going to be my suspect. Also here, when it comes to attack aircraft armed with rockets, currently there is no plan to implement them, but that could change. But however, judging by what was said in the community manager stream, they're very tentative about introducing rockets. I can't really blame them, really. Are carriers going to be available in standard or versus air modes, or will they stay in a separate? Obviously, we've seen them introduced. Have anti-aircraft mechanics changed to counteract them? Obviously, there's a bit of discussion here, but it was interesting to note from the community manager stream that they are potentially thinking about actually making AA slightly weaker. But obviously, I think it's all going to be subject to monitoring. At the moment, we are only 2 and a bit weeks into this, really, so I wouldn't say we're in any rush to start tweaking things. We're still in a very much a public test phase, I guess you could say. And since you put carriers in the game, what does this mean for submarines? Submarines are, at the moment, they're not even on the to-do list, I guess you could say. They haven't even been introduced to PC, and to be honest, personally, I'm not really interested in submarines. At the end of the day, our game, World of Warships Legends, is always going to be limited to 9 aside. As soon as you start adding submarines into it, that's less surface vessels, that's less HP in the game, and there's also a lot less damage, even, I guess you could say, in the game. And then, I mean, you already have, we've had players complain that when there's one DD left in the enemy team, it gets difficult to hunt it. Now we've got people moaning because there's CVs, they can't find them, and they're always at the back of the map. I mean, just trying to imagine how much worse it's going to be when it's a submarine. That's all I have to say, really. Now, regarding back to aircraft carriers, we have got some stats actually here regarding the high explosive penetration of the bombs. Regarding the Shikoku and the Lexington, the penetration of HE bombs is 53.4 millimeters. It's exactly the same for the Ranger and the Ryujo. And regarding the Langley and Hosho, that penetration is reduced down to 42.7 millimeters. So if you want to call it off nice and quick, you would say it's 53, 53, 42. Now, one thing I did note, and this goes back to the community manager stream, under the Ask the Team on Discord, Zay Robin has mentioned that regarding spotting ribbons, you can definitely expect them in the future. So, looks like we are going to start getting in the future. Don't know exactly when. Obviously, all subjects change, but finally going to be starting to get some form of mechanic which will actually allow a player to understand what their spotting they've done by achieving spotting ribbons and things like that. It makes sense, especially with the introduction of carriers. Carriers are going to be doing a lot of spotting, and finally this might mean that some destroyer players might start to get an understanding and appreciation of the kind of spotting potential that they're actually getting. I hope, fingers crossed, they do introduce spotting ribbons. I would like to see even like spotting damage and things like that, like those numbers being accrued, just so people can understand, oh, okay, I'm actually helping someone here by spotting. Because so many times I play cruisers, I play DDs and things like that, but if I play a smoke cruiser, I'm very reliant on a DD to do the spotting, and sometimes if I'm not in communication with that DD, they won't have an appreciation of the spotting damage that they're accruing by me being in the smoke screen. And so hopefully this, if they introduce that, I'd love that, because then that would mean that a DD would understand, oh, by being right here, I'm helping so and so and so and so, because they can see that number racking up. But obviously, baby steps. It's all going to be down to baby steps. Now, regarding the discount of the ships in the store, this has been extended by another week until April the 26th. The reason being is they kind of feel that some players have said they haven't had enough time to make their minds up and stuff. I kind of just suspect that it's been successful. I guess you can say 25% off that. I mean, that's pretty fair, really. So, I mean, if it's been successful, they might as well keep it rolling until they see the amount of traffic happening reduce a little bit, I guess you could say. Now, I guess it's worth mentioning that the World of Warships community managers are doing a additional kind of live stream, a historical live stream. It's called Ships of the Line. I guess being a CC, I'm obliged to promote it, I guess you could say. And this is going to be featuring Prince Blip, but it's also going to be featuring Takana. Takana is going to be basically playing the ships in question, while Prince Blip talks about the ships in question and also takes questions and things like that. This will be starting on this Friday, which is the 23rd. I believe. Yes, it is. And that'll be starting at 4 p.m. UTC. This week's one, I'm not sure how often they're going to be doing, whether it be one per patch, but the one that they're doing this patch, or this week I should say, will be focusing on battleships of the Imperial Japanese Navy. Now, it's mostly going to be about ships in the games. That's from the Mikasa all the way up to the Yamato. I know that he's been saying that he's got some information, well, a big juicy amount of information regarding Yamato. So I guess if Japanese battleships do interest you, or the history of Japanese battleships do interest you, then feel free to go along. I'm going to play it by ear and see if I'll be available to go along. But it'd be what it'd be, I guess you could say. Now, regarding the channel news, obviously I wasn't feeling on top of the world on Tuesday night, so obviously I had to rearrange the videos. You may notice that this week I'm doing a back-to-back video week. I just had an abundance of time of the weekend to get some additional recording in, so I hope you appreciate that. Yeah, apart from that, everything seems to be ticking over. Fingers crossed the internet can actually keep it together this Friday for a live stream. It seems to be keeping it together the past couple of days, so I'm not sure what all the blips were going on over Friday and Saturday, but fingers crossed. And although most of you guys have probably already found it and such, there has been a redeem code put out on Facebook last Friday before the live stream. So that redeem code will be down in the description along with a link to the redeemer, and that will give you basically a patch, a flag, and a patch background regarding the 2 years strong. And you wouldn't believe it, the actual code is 2 years strong. Well, that is everything regarding WoWs Weekly. We haven't got anything additional or bonus, I guess you could say, regarding any potential teasers or anything like that. The development blog for World of Warships PC has been quite quiet, so I haven't really got anything to add. I haven't got really any additional speculation, so I'm going to say toodle pip. If you have enjoyed this, feel free to give it a thumbs up. If you enjoy this content, feel free to give it subscribe, I guess you could say, I really should say. Down in the description, all those lovely links, that redeem code, along with the email address to the channel if you want to send in your own game captures, and the link to Patreon if you want to support the channel on Patreon, as it is a non-monetized channel. Until next time, I'm the Gav Major, and back to the port.
Hey, hey, clear the way, here comes the galloping Major. Bumpity, 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 bump. Get out of the way there, you fellows, unless you want me to run you down. Yes, this is the life. Now, hey, hey, clear the way. Here comes the galloping Major.